when you start to build a social network, you need to have this primary activity that people really like to do. And predominantly people have done historically have done it in single player mode. So trading is that medium. And over the course of time, you actually get to this point where you can actually create a multiplayer experience with this, where people can, do it with each other, right? Think about Twitter. Before Twitter, writing content was very, very isolating. It was something that you probably did to a website or a blog, and some people read it, but you couldn't really interact with it. Think about media and Instagram, right? You probably sent your friends photos, but there was never this like experience of like going back and forth at a mass scale with a wide social network. Same thing with an app like Strava. You used to just run alone, but now you can actually find people on routes. You can run together. You can, comment on people's accomplishments and such. And I think that's where we think FOMO is going with the trading layer.
Welcome back to another episode of Talking Intentionally. Today we speak with Say from the Fomo app. Fomo is one of the top names in all of crypto. It's really a cool app that allows for you to see how your friends are trading and people who you're following are trading. We talk about his journey into crypto. We talk about how FOMO became a thing. And then we talk about how they were able to pull off this really interesting fundraising round where they got a lot of different angels from different parts of the world to go and, put a check into FOMO. Most interestingly, Benchmark, which is this huge name in the world of Web 2 and trad tech, to make very rare crypto investments. So I really hope you enjoy this podcast. I think it's very informational. And if there's anyone else you want to see on the podcast or any advice for how we can make this better, always let us know in the comment section below. Take care, and I hope you'll enjoy this episode. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Talking Intentionally. Today we are very lucky to get Say from the Fomo app on our podcast. Obviously, if you guys have been on Twitter, you've seen these guys just raise an awesome round from really trad investors. So it's really interesting to get a chance to talk to him. Without further ado, how are you keeping, man? How's life?
Good, dude. I love the energy, by the way. It's great. But appreciate you having me on, and yeah, excited to talk shop.
No, dude, I was telling I've completely leaned into the meme of just becoming the FOMO fan in our office. We work out of the Monad office, and I just consistently hype you guys up. I'm greatest inventions in history, Fire, the wheel, and then the FOMO app. Because dude, I'm telling you, man, I just thought it was so special. I saw you at the Archetype event, and you demonstrated it, and it's for me, I just think I've been using Phantom for most of my trading history, and I just don't like it that much. I mean, I love Phantom, great company, but for me, it's just I think that what you guys built is just a way to make it extremely obvious, and that's obviously how we view the world too. Make it extremely obvious, and you lean into what I think actually is crypto, at least in terms of trading, which is culture and its attention and it's following people. I feel like I'm on crypto Twitter, but I'm actually seeing the trades when I'm on FOMO. So that's why I love it so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think a lot of the inspiration does come from what does crypto Twitter look like? What does some of the Telegram groups where a lot of traders flock to look like? What do Discord communities look like? And trying to create this mesh of worlds where you can actually see the content without all the fluff. I feel like a lot of the time there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of BS that kind of goes on. A lot of times people are just interested in cutting straight through and looking at what are people trading, why are they trading these things, and how are they thinking about the metas and assets that are constantly kind of shifting between one another.
Yeah, I mean, we only have 30 minutes, so I want to make sure that we take advantage of all this time. So before I start hyping up the app, I want to hear what was your story into getting into crypto? Obviously you went to Yale. I don't know. I used to work at SIG, the trading firm. I feel like trading culture is not as big of a thing there compared to maybe, more techie schools like CMU or MIT or whatever. But yeah, I would love to just hear why did you get into trading? Why'd you get into crypto? What was the story behind this?
Yeah, definitely. So I graduated from Yale in 2020 and I went into investment banking. So I worked there for about a year and a half. And I want to say around 2021, sometime early 2021, Avalanche season started to kind of take off. So this was right around the time where I think people were kind of fed up with all the gas fees on Ethereum and having to constantly, spend a large part of their balance to actually buy things on chain. So people were looking for okay, where's a cheaper alternative here? And I think at the time Solana was starting to pick up steam as well. But it was an interesting kind of fortuitous opportunity where came across this tweet from Satstar, who was a smaller account at the time. He leaked the RPCs and the bridges and all this stuff for AVAX. And this was before their official bridge went live. So I remember bridging over, buying a lot of assets like Joe, MIM, Spell, Time, a lot of the assets that I think kicked off the whole Ponzi season after home. And I remember thinking like, okay, like cool, I'm just gonna put, a few $1,000s in here. I didn't have all that much money. And quickly that grew to like 50, 100K over the course of weeks. And I think at the time I was just like, wow, like I'm making more money in a month than I am like in my traditional job working in investment banking, which was like this highly sought out thing that, at least in my mind, was going to be the way I made all my money in my life. So I remember thinking, okay, well, this is interesting. Continued to trade on chain, then moved over to Solana, started trading some of the NFTs early there, minted in Aurora, and that ended up being like a 60x. And I remember thinking like, wow, there's a lot of opportunity in these wedges. So
Yeah.
got really interested in trading on chain. And then, funny enough, my now co-founder Paul had moved over from Deutsche Bank. We were both working to DYDX, and he was the first BD hire there. He started to build out the team, and 6 months later, he asked me, "It's like, hey, do you want to join?" So I decided, it's something I'm interested in. I've heard of the company, perps look cool. So took the leap there. Spent 2 years building out the book of business there. We went from maybe 5 to 150 market makers in the time. All the big names in crypto, all the TradFi guys, and even people you wouldn't even expect to be really trading in crypto at the time,
Yeah.
especially on DeFi. And then my last year there, they actually asked me to move to be the product manager on the core trading team. So led a team of 12 engineers there, kind of just reinventing and thinking about the entire experience from the front end to the protocol to the index on the trading side. And it was a really good experience. Got to work with like really talented people, build out really something that was cool. And then left about a year ago, or maybe like 13 months ago, to try to think about what comes next. Spent a lot of time thinking about what is exciting to build. Always wanted to be a founder, but it needed to be the right idea. So I
Yeah.
wanted to build something that could actually expand the things that we've built in crypto to more and more consumers. And right around this time is when Moonshot really started to take off. And I remember thinking, this is a great app. It's amazing opportunity to like onboard more and more people to crypto. But I think that they're missing this element of social. Like you need to be able to continue to progress on your user journey. You need to become more educated. You need to understand what's actually going on chain and have the tools to do so without having to set up, a Telegram tracker, wallet tracker, have your meme scope or pulse up at all times, Telegram groups, Discords. Like it just wasn't very feasible for the normal person. So we wanted to build that up all natively into the app.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great story. I think I think the thing that's really interesting here is like twofold. One, you went into a space where like there were competitors. Like you had Moonshot, you have Axiom, that's obviously, I mean, the meme with them, or like maybe it's just reality, like fastest growing YC company of all time. So why did you go into a crowded space? Like how do you have the courage, I guess, to like tackle something that seems like there are a ton of competitors that are minting money, and think that you'd be able to like stand out in a pretty crowded place.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing here is like, I think the best builders just build ideas that they think there's, 100,000x left in the industry for. And I think it'd be the wrong thing to think like, okay, it's a crowded market. Let's not do it because of the fact that there's a lot of competitors. In a grand scheme of things, like this market is still very tiny, right? Like we're still, as an entire industry, smaller than gold by, I think, like 2 or 3x. I'm not actually sure what the numbers there are, but this is like I would say where a lot of the most talented and smartest builders are working towards, like probably crypto and AI. And given that, we're still such a small drop in the bucket as far as asset classes go. And I think this is going to be something that expands over the course of time. RWAs are going to come on chain. More things that you traditionally can't access if you're a normal person, like treasury bills and yield, and a lot of other financial instruments that are typically guarded for like the upper elite class are being built in crypto in ways that become accessible to everyone. And I think that for us, like we view this to be a 5, 10, 20-year goal where we need to expand crypto's capabilities to more and more users, improve on the UX, and kind of let the technology, for better or for worse, like commoditize itself and then own the layer that actually distributes it all to, the people in the world that can benefit from it.
So, I mean, how do you view the like Telegram trading bots? Because I think that's your true competitor, actually. Like these bots where you are inherently in those are the social places. It's at distribution, and they're just creating means to trade, right? You like, there is a bit of a wedge here where you have to convince someone to download a new app, to like get to the social element. Like how do you view your competition with the Telegram bots? Because I think that's more of your real competitor than these actual trading apps.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we actually view our main competitors to be people like Robinhood, like people who are actually trying to bring more distribution of some financial vehicle like stocks or crypto or options to users and giving them a really good experience to do it. I think on the Telegram bot point, my counter to that probably would be like, it is enough friction as is for the normal person to go set up a Telegram. And that's not even including figuring out where's the right bot to use, how do I get funds on this platform, what do all these buttons mean? What are gas fees? Like, there's a lot of these UX issues that you kind of run into if you just try to straight onboard to a Telegram bot. And I say that with respect because I think BonkBot was like this first 0 to 1 moment where people can actually come on and trade on chain without having to fully understand all of the different websites and storing of keys and transferring of crypto. And it was a much needed experience to kind of propel the on-chain season that it did at the time. That's obviously evolved from Telegram bots to terminals to more advanced terminals and other verticals like Moonshot and Vector and a lot of these other apps that kind of doing similar things, maybe in a different form factor. But I think for us, like as I mentioned, the industry is still so small. It's important to us to think about like what is this look like in 10 years and who are we competing with then? And for us, like the ultimate goal is to be as big as Robinhood, to be bigger and to bring more and more access to people who actually want to use this, and then also have the other side of the economy of pro traders, people that are actually in the know and they know what's going on, and having these two parties kind of have this feedback loop where they actually benefit from each other over the course of time.
Do you think Robinhood is going to adopt more social elements into its app? Because it's for me, it's just a trading app, right? For
Yeah.
me, for FOMO, I feel like this is a social app that it feels like almost like the new social media for people, for honestly Gen Z, right? Like I'm part of it, and like I think people my age and younger, they are obsessed with trading, and like this is like honestly, I can see people doing this instead of being on like Twitter, right? I can see them just
Yeah.
being on FOMO all day. So do you think like you're, I guess in that sense, like the true competitors? They aren't like even viewing the world like that, at least right now. Is that like part of your wedge? How do you view like, yeah, how do you view yourself as a social company versus like a tech company or as a trading company?
Yeah, so Robinhood actually is trying to do this. They like came out with this feature that's a feed. It's an opt-in feed where you make a trade, you disclose it, you can write a little comments about it, and you can publish it to the actual feed. I don't think it's out yet. I think they just teased it a few months ago, but that to me shows that they kind of understand the world is becoming more social and social finance is really starting to get this footing off the ground. There have been a lot of attempts at social fi, and they primarily come from crypto, which I think is because it has to start here. You can obviously mention like the Weebles and the eToros and
Yeah.
all these other platforms traditionally that have tried in the Web2 world. But I think there's a unique value prop with crypto, which is everything is visible, right? You're on these permissionless, decentralized guardrails where everything already exists. And what FOMO does is it just takes all these like alphanumeric strings and block explorers and puts them into a UI and UX that everybody can understand. And for that reason, it's not like we're creating more social. We're not forcing you to opt into it. We're not forcing you to, publish and have confirmation bias. We're actually just displaying the things that are actually happening and shifting the atomic unit from what is a swap on the blockchain explorer to a trade on FOMO and just kind of reinventing what this experience looks like. And on the trading app versus social piece, yeah, like we are a trading app today, but that's not what we're trying to be in the long term. We have a product that works really well on the trading front for cross-chain swaps, but I wrote this article a few months ago and it's like FOMO is not a trading app and here's why. And it's essentially talking about how like when you start to build a social network, you need to have this primary activity that people really like to do. And predominantly people have done historically have done it in single player mode. So trading is that medium. And over the course of time, you actually get to this point where you can actually create a multiplayer experience with this,
Yeah.
where people can, do it with each other, right? Think about Twitter. Before Twitter, writing content was very, very isolating. It was something that you probably did to a website or a blog, and some people read it, but you couldn't really interact with it. Think about media and Instagram, right? You probably sent your friends photos, but there was never this like experience of like going back and forth at a mass scale with a wide social network. Same thing with an app like Strava. You used to just run alone, but now you can
Yeah.
actually find people en route. You can run together. You can, comment on people's accomplishments and such. And I think that's where we think FOMO is going with the trading layer. It's going to be something where this is not a trading app with a social application. This is a social network that is
Yeah.
going to power all of finance, not just in crypto, but we're going to expand to every other asset class to the extent that that's possible. And that's our broader vision. It's a multi-decade vision. It's something that we hope to be the canonical social layer of finance, and it's a lofty goal, but I think that it's something that will exist, and it's just a matter of who's going to actually execute on it.
No, I felt it, man. That's why I'm like hyped for about you guys. Like I think this is the first time I've really seen it like executed well. I mean, Pump Fun has streaming. I think like crypto has always been, as you pointed out, like at the forefront of bringing, content and tech together. A lot of this also is in the sense that like crypto helped a lot of people who were probably kicked off of the internet a couple years ago
Yeah.
keep, earning money. So like it is like almost attached at the hip. And I think that's why it's really interesting. And I mean, like, how do you view people like Pump Fun, which are leaning heavily into streaming, or, I know Tether bought Rumble. I mean, like, there's just a lot of people in this space that are building for, similar stuff, but I don't think anyone's like integrated. I don't think anyone would view themselves as a social media company first that is gaining traction through trading.
Yeah, I think the pump fund streaming angle is pretty interesting. I think that if you look at it from like an incentives perspective, it probably is the best way to incentivize creators going 0 to 1. I feel like I'm not too educated on the streaming market, but my understanding of the market is that it's kind of like very top heavy. So the top 1% make all of the money and everybody else is like trying to become top 1%. So it's an interesting experiment, at least on the crypto side, where like you can actually make money immediately as somebody who comes on to stream. And it's not super crowded. I think that the creator fees that you get from the token taxes and then some of the other incentives around supply, like enable you to capitalize and actually like spend a few months trying this out and understanding how you can actually develop to become one of the top 1%. I'm not sure how this looks as far as like longevity, just because there's this misalignment between people who buy the token and people who actually support the streamer,
Yeah.
right? Like you think about somebody who's up and coming, typically they're, let's say an artist, for example, you buy their work, you support them, but you don't expect to make money the next day, or you don't expect to like flip it for a profit in the next 3 hours. It's a little bit different with traders who are buying a token for a coin. They might not even care about the underlying, and they're buying this token, they're trying to profit off of it, and they will sell it. It's not going to be something they think has like unlimited value over the
Yeah.
course of time. And even if there was this like very deep, thesis that this streamer is going to be the next biggest streamer, there's probably other ways to capitalize on it over the course of years that are much better than like holding this token, which
Yeah.
may or may not go to zero tomorrow. So interesting experiment. I think that, the world is shifting to be more and more social, especially as like more and more people come online. And, internet is something that's becoming more and more accessible generally throughout the world. And, it's something that will probably connect all of the participants, whether it's, trading, whether it's streaming, whether it's another medium. And I'm interested to see how it develops, but I don't really have like strong views on how that looks over the course of years.
I think for me, like distribution is probably one of the most fascinating parts about all of crypto and tech. I think FOMO is starting to like start to get out of the crypto bubble. I think you guys seized the bubble by its neck for a little bit. Now it's like, how do you get out of here? How do you like actually compete with Robinhood? I think my like high question here is like one of the big tensions I think with people in general. It's like with crypto, you're trying to convince people to get into the space where oftentimes when retail comes in here, they just get rugged. You know, a lot of the well-known meme coins of the past year have just been rug pulls. How do you like? How do you why? How do you view getting distribution? Like, I mean, Twitter is obviously where most people in crypto are. You guys have a strong Twitter presence. Like, how do you guys, or at least people sharing the like cards or whatever? How do you like view getting distribution, go to market? Like, why did FOMO start to get that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't happen overnight. I think a lot of people think like, oh, Fomo just came on the scene, a month ago and they just took over. We actually launched our app in May, so it's been 6 months, and we were very fortunate enough to do an angel round. We did 140 angels in that round, where we had a lot of the top builders, the top operators, top traders, and top media personalities kind of participate in the round, and it helped with distribution going 0 to 1. And I think what we did is like with along with these people, their communities, and specifically the traders, we like co-designed what this would look like as far as experience, feedback, feel, performance, and a lot of these things actually like are a lot of work that take constant iteration cycles, a lot of feedback, a lot of improvements. And I would say we're still at a place where like we're not happy with what the execution looks like and what the experience looks like. There's a lot that we want to do. So for us, it's just like continuing to like be product-led growth, right? I think a lot of companies in crypto and specifically like don't really know where the growth comes from because there's all
Yeah,
these incentives you can throw in. There's all these like farming,
sure.
endeavors or engagement farms or whatever they might be. And it's hard to understand like where are you actually getting PMF, where are users coming from. So for us, like we were very slow with growth. We were very intentional. And we have two buckets of users we kind of classify. One is like your retail user who comes from traditional, UGC, probably from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, hearing from friends, just like exposure through these channels that a lot of people spend time on that are not in the crypto world. And then the other side is crypto Twitter, which I think is small enough where like once a product is actually good and it maintains some sort of momentum, it's very easy to distribute to everyone. It
Yeah.
might not be for everyone, right? But I think our goal is get you to try to come use the platform. And if the experience is good enough, you'll stay. And that's what's important here. A lot of people miss the second part. They think like it's about getting people to your app. That's actually the easiest part for most applications. The hard part is like, is it good enough and so much better that they'll actually stay here versus somewhere else? And once you do that, I think you start to develop some semblance of PMF. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're starting to develop and see what that looks like, starting to form at least.
Yeah, I want to talk about that fundraising round. Like, obviously, you guys did a pretty interesting thing with the angel round. How did you think through that? Also, out of curiosity, there are three co-founders of FOMO.
Yeah.
Whose idea was the angel round, or was the three of you guys together?
Yeah, so early on, we were trying to contemplate like, okay, well, we could do a traditional venture round, but we don't really need the money. We think that we can get to be a place where we're net profitable pretty quickly. People actually weren't taking salaries for the better part of the year. So we built the team roughly in February. That's also when the fundraising round happened. And since then, most people did not get paid until October. So we kind of were, okay, let's all, commit to this. We don't need to get paid. We're in situations where we can actually live off of, the previous jobs that we've worked on or the savings that we have or whatever else. And we decided, okay, so if we're not going to take money for the sake of paying ourselves, what are we going to do it for? And it's like it's strategic. It's going to be distribution. How do you distribute the most? Well, you can get a big venture fund and get a lot of the people in that ecosystem to actually support you, or you could just go get 150 different people. So it was an idea that the three of us kind of talked on for a while, and my two co-founders, Paul and Prashant, and myself, we have extensive networks to the time we've built in crypto. So do IDX, OpenSea, and then Uniswap as well. Do some of the team members. We've been able to develop a lot of relationships. So these are people like CEOs of blockchains, like Mark at Polygon, who's the CEO. He worked with us at DYDX as CLO. People like Balaji who were able to meet through mutual friends and similar circles. A lot of traders like the UMs and the PACs and a lot of these guys that like I actually mutually share chats with and talk to every day. And trying to make sure that we can get this like very distributed system where you can actually tap into all the different crowds. It's not just traders, it's not just KOLs, it's not just CEOs, it's not just operators. And there's even a few venture partners in there, GPs at places like Pantera and Dragonfly and a couple of other funds. And yeah, we just wanted to maximize distribution. And the way we see angels is it's a call option on your success. So the better you do, the more people you unlock and to greater capabilities to which you unlock. So a lot of people are pretty hesitant to help out a company that just raised, even if they're
Yeah.
an angel. But as you begin to scale, like these companies become more and more excited about you. And you as a builder, like it's your job to get them so excited that they want to help you. And they're like at your door saying, what can we do to like leverage our networks and help you actually grow as a product?
How'd you guys get people excited?
I think just through building. Admittedly, like raising the round itself was not that difficult. We maybe had 5 calls out of the 140 people, just
Yeah.
because a lot of people like, you build your relationship. And I think at that stage, you're not even betting on the idea, you're betting on the people. We're able to, have work that speaks for ourselves. We scaled multiple $1 billion protocols and we just had a very strong team. I think a lot of people trusted us. So that was really, really easy. Getting them excited, I think every day more people will get excited. Like there's probably still some people on our cap table that are like, man, I wrote this check a few months ago. Like, what's going on. Obviously, I
Yeah.
have updates, but like, what is the order of magnitude here? And you need to get to this point where you're so undeniable that every single person is screaming, I'm an angel investor. I helped them get here. And maybe that's not true, but you need to get them excited to the point where like they want to rep you on their sleeves. And there's a lot of benefit that comes from doing that.
So final question related to fundraising. Obviously, Benchmark led your round. There was a TechCrunch article about it. Like the theme of the TechCrunch article is that like Benchmark doesn't really touch crypto. How did you get Benchmark to care about crypto?
Yeah, it was actually really interesting of a story. So we did like 30 or 40 calls. We wanted to talk with all the funds, get a feel for the partners, get a sense of, where do we want to go, crypto native, not crypto native, whatever. And funny enough, this was the only call where it started off on such a rough footing. So ended up happening is we get on a call, and this might be like call number 25 or so. We got introed by a really good friend of ours, Aaron, and we're 15 minutes into Zoom. We're like, all right, well, he's not showing up. Like we got ghosted. Like first one, we should have expected this,
Yeah.
whatever. And then we get off the call, and then my co-founder Paul is like, hey, like get back on the other Zoom. He's actually on the other link. And then we were just like, oh wow, we were on the wrong link the whole time, huh? So we get on the call, 15 minutes late. James really, really gracious about it. And we only end up speaking for like 20 or so minutes, but he's kind of just in this mindset of like, I'm taking this call as a courtesy to Aaron, who introduced us. I very much respect him. And you can kind of see like the wheels starting to spin on the call where he's like, huh, like, that's interesting. I understand the thesis. I understand what you're building. The momentum is early, but it's like pretty promising. And then we got off the call thinking like, oh, okay, like really cool. Like, they might be interested, and then we looked it up and they actually had not invested in crypto publicly since 2018, where they led Chainalysis round. And we're like, okay, it's probably a long shot, like maybe you're just being really
Yeah.
nice. Chain's really, really nice guy. So we kind of just went our ways. And then he hits us back up and he's like, hey, like, I'm actually interested in learning more. Like, can we get on another call with my partners? So the benchmark is special because they have like an equal GP system,
Yeah.
right? It's like everybody has an equal share of the fund. So therefore, you kind of have access to all the partners and they're all vested in your success over the course of term of the time that you guys work together. So get on a call with all of them. We have a good call. We think it goes really well. And we're in this place where we're like, okay, well, that call went well, but they still don't invest in crypto. So, it's a long shot, but really nice guys, very sharp, and they seem to understand how things are shaping on the side of the world. Then they go silent for 3 days. And I think if you've ever raised a round, like, that if you don't hear back in 24 hours, like the deal is dead, right? Like you're probably not moving forward. So we're making progress. We get a few term sheets from a couple of VCs. A lot of them we really, really like, and we're kind of moving through the process. And I remember thinking, like, why don't we just shoot them an email? Like, hey, like, we're getting close to wrapping up our process. We're going to run this pretty tight. We're going to be finalized in the next few days. Like, just circling back if there's interest. Probably not, thinking that there's actually going to be a reply. And then Chayton calls us back and he's like, hey guys, like, sorry I took so long to reply. Like, me and the rest of the partners have spent a lot of time in the last few days just calling everybody we knew in crypto, from Coinbase to Robinhood to this to that, and really learning like what's developed in this space in like the better part of a decade since they've invested in Chainalysis. They've done some other stuff in crypto as well, but I think that he got really fascinated with like what this market could look like. And we immediately knew, like, he understood. He started talking about things like the microstructure of pump fund and hyperliquid's emergence. And we were just really impressed that like in 3 days, he got up to speed on everything that's kind of happened in very, very deep detail. So I ended up continuing the conversation. He flew out to New York. We had a nice lunch. And I think, from the first conversation, we always knew like this is somebody who really is starting to understand what this world's going to look like. And I think there's like this raw intuition that most of the best investors have, which is like, I might not know exactly what it is you're doing, but I know that it's going to be something special and that somebody's going to take this market. So really cool story to tell, but yeah, it's been an amazing experience with them. All of them are great. A lot of conversations that we have pretty much on a weekly basis of trying to understand, like, how do you capture more and more distribution? And for us, it was like, ultimately, we wanted to work with him as a partner, but we also knew that we're very, very crypto native. We probably don't get as much, working with a crypto native fund versus like where we want to be is in the hundreds of millions, if not billions of users. So we need to work with people who have done this at scale. And I think they're one of the best in consumer. They've, led the rounds of
Uber.
the A's for like, yeah, Uber, WeWork,
Yeah.
Snapchat, eBay, Instagram,
Yeah.
participated in Twitter, and they really get how this works. So we were excited to partner with them, and it's been, the best experience so far that we can imagine.
Yeah, man, I look forward for when Travis Angel's in FOMO's next round. But yeah, dude, also that's crazy. So you kind of FOMO'd benchmark into FOMO. FOMO'd benchmark uh at the end, and that's insane, man. This is a great story. What is next in your horizon?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we probably need to catch up on, honestly. I think with big growth events, like we've grown 15x in the last month or so. It's this really good situation to be in where like you have a lot of momentum, but you also, borrow a lot of goodwill, right? Early stage products try to move fast and iterate quickly. And for now, we're at this phase where we need to just like continue to improve on the features that users are asking for, make sure that execution, reliability, uptime are all, as best as they could be, and then start to shift gears for some things that are exciting. Like we're going to integrate Monad day one. I know they're launching in roughly 10, 11 days. And then start, working with other chains. There we go.
Yeah.
Start working with other chains to integrate them to the extent that our users are interested in trading there. And then after that, it's unclear. I mean, we like to work on short roadmaps where we do like, 1 to 3 week sprints. It doesn't really make sense to like think beyond that since a month is so long in this industry and especially at our stage. But we have a lot of aspirations. We want to build in other asset classes and other mediums and maybe even other sectors entirely. And there's a lot of cool stuff that we want to take care of, but it all starts with the spot trading experience. That has to be great. Social has to be robust and has to be something that people look forward to going on every day and interacting with one another.
Yeah, I mean, one feature Axel definitely wants on FOMO is yield, so subtle plug right there. But I guess what would be like a happy place for you guys in like 1 year? I know you said you just like said you do 3 week sprints,
Yeah.
but like, is it like people outside? Like, is it like college kids are on FOMO trading? Is it trading things outside of crypto? Is it trading perps? Like what would you want to see like FOMO in 1 year from now?
Yeah, I mean, 1 year is a really long time, and I think a lot of this is like market contingent, and you can't force appetite where it doesn't exist. But I think in a year we'd want to be integrated with every major asset class in crypto, right? So letting users trade anything that's worthwhile to use in crypto in a very easy to use way. So very, very seamless. You can use it whether you're 30 seconds into crypto or 30 years into crypto, which I guess is not possible, but you get what I mean. And just craft an experience and an ecosystem of products that lets people do what they want to do in the way they want to do it. So their own preferred form factor, their preferred UX, their way of, onboarding, their way of executing. And kind of creating the ecosystem of products that lets people do this. But yeah, that does involve having people like in college campuses trading crypto, maybe even in like senior retirement homes, maybe even places that like you wouldn't traditionally expect people to be involved in finance. I think our North Star is really trying to get decentralized finance and all the beautiful technology that's been built into the hands of people who have never been able to experience it and do it in a way that's joyful and very, very easy to use.
A lot of the I work in the Monad co-working space, so it's a lot of really early stage startups that obviously when you see like a company that's, been around for maybe 1.5 years, raise from benchmark and raise a good chunk of change, you come kind of become someone to look up to for early stage companies. Who are the companies in crypto or beyond crypto that you look up to?
Yeah, I mean, I know I mentioned Robinhood as like somebody we view to be a competitor, and I hope that one day, we are in a place where we are going neck and neck with them. But I would say they are the epitome to me of a team that understands product. And it's really been 180 from like even a year ago, where I used to think their product was this place where like every PM wanted like a section of the app to dedicate their product to, and it felt very confusing. But since then, I've come to realize what they're trying to do, which is like take all of the pieces of technology that exist, whether it's in crypto or not, and put it into this application so everybody can access it. It's a very similar goal. Um, I've been listening to like some of the things that Vlad has been talking about on podcasts and spaces and such, and I respect the way he thinks about things. I think like there's a lot of opportunity in these like ancillary areas of business that don't necessarily relate to the core business model, at least from when it started. But that doesn't mean they're not, something that adds a lot of value over the course of time and that's not useful to users. And I think that it's a very, good framework to think about as you build an app that lets you service more and more people. You want to continue to expand the TAM, expand the pie, and bring more accessibility to people. So I would say they're definitely up there for sure. Um, who else is somebody that I'm trying to think of a crypto example?
Probably Polymarket. That's like the most consumer crypto company to hit the
Yeah.
bubble.
Yeah, I mean, Polymarket's done a really good job of brand, right? Like Polymarket is the brand and it's a brand before anything else. And I think that like that almost puts this like uncapped valuation on what that company should be worth and what it looks like in the future because you kind of get to this place where like you're a global name and everybody knows you
Yeah.
in such a short period of time. So definitely respect them a lot. And I would say the other team is I actually really respect the Phantom team and what they've done. I think that Phantom was the first real wallet that I used, early on in 2021 or 2022 for Solana, where the experience was just so much better than anything else that existed. I think wallets have caught up in a lot of ways, but I think for a team to be able to like maintain its North Star and continue to like move towards the market in every year is something that I tremendously respect. I don't actually know too many people on that team. I used to work with one of the guys at DYDX who now is at Phantom, and we don't really speak all that much, but I respect what they do. I respect the way they think about things and kind of the business mode that they've developed over the course of years.
Yeah, I think it's everyone's first wallet or first like foray into trading like not Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's probably Phantom still, but it probably will be FOMO. So we'll see, or Moonshot. But FOMO is the one we're talking to. So um, yeah, man, thank you for your time. It's incredible to see how you guys have grown. Like I think you've really I think built something more than just trading. I think the social stuff will like really kill it. So really excited to see how things, progress for you guys.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it and really enjoyed this conversation. I think that when we met in the archetype office, I was like, man, this guy's a lot of energy. Really, really cool that we get to speak today, and hopefully we can continue to be friends and continue to connect on things as you guys build as well.
Sweet. Thank you, brother. Be well.
All right.